Hello, it's Mia, and I'm very grumpy, and I'm just sitting around with this pillow, and you can tell my face is so fat because I've been eating tons of food because I'm stressed out. So right now, I am sitting in my room. I'm at the point where I feel so, like there's so many things to do that I don't know how to do them. So, oh my gosh, I'm tired. I made a couple videos yesterday. It was supposed to be one short one, but it got interrupted, and then I had this cramp in my foot, and I couldn't do anything but lay there, and I had to have my kids help me, and my youngest kid just turned 12, and the other one is 13, and the little one wouldn't go to school for most of the school year, and now he's been hiding in his room. He's coming out slowly, and now he's asking me to use his birthday money to get video games online. And that's part of his problem. So what am I supposed to do? I know, you guys would be like, duh, don't let him get the games and make him go to school. He hasn't been waking up. His sleep schedule is messed up. Nobody would help us. For years, we've had trouble with him obeying, and he had been violent in the past, and defiant, and he'd go into tantrums and act extreme, and there was a couple of times I just wrapped him up in a blanket and held him, because he was trying to punch and kick me, and just try to settle him down. And sometimes they used to do this when I worked at the daycare. They would say, wrap the babies up like a taco. I was like, what? When I worked at the daycare, they did all these things I never did with my kids because we didn't have stuff for my kids. So we'd was it a burrito? It was a burrito. A taco is just fold over. Well, I guess unless it's a soft taco. But anyways, we would but the baby would be fussy. We'd lay the baby on the blanket and then fold up the bottom and the sides, and then carry the baby because the babies. We would do that. Thanks to Kim, we would do that when the baby wouldn't sleep and be fussy. And they're like, sometimes they like to have it, be all tight in there, because that's how we are when we're in their mom's wound. So a couple times I did that with my son, and he settled down. Then he got too old, and he would just wiggle his way out, and he was still angry. I'm tired. I must not get enough oxygen because I wasn't yawning before. So right now my son is acting up. It's almost May. School's out in like a month and a half, and he's hardly gone to school. I don't think there's any way to salvage it. I've tried to call the principal and everything. I'm almost surprised that they don't just be like, dude, your kid missed a few days, a bunch of days of school, you need to do something. And he's so far behind in homework, I don't even know if it's possible. I'm about to give up on him. Monday and Tuesday I have a couple hours to do some stuff, and the kids, some people were trying to help us, and they spent a week playing phone tag and making phone calls with me just to get my son's insurance number, which they supposedly had, but they had a typo. And then it took another several days for them to tell me to call this number that I had probably in my backpack, and this other number that's stored in my phone. I just haven't called it yet. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I mean, sometimes it helps. My biggest issue, besides my son's behavior and me being mad at myself for not thinking clearly, my biggest issue, besides my cardiology grade, I got in my mailbox, really bad score, and I knew that things were not, my mind was just not there. But the third thing is that I'm angry about people not helping us. I'm angry at people that we know, that we have known. You call them and tell them, oh my gosh, my life is completely falling apart. And then people you've known for a long, long, long time, and they're like, whatever. And it's nobody's responsibility to help us. Nobody has to listen to me talk on the phone for an hour. Especially in their mind, they're like, this person's in medical school. Why is she wanting to talk to me? But I'm sitting at home freaking out. And it's nobody's business anyways. I could just if I just shut up about it, nobody would even notice. When I call the school several times, and they come and yell at me and be like, your kid needs to be in school. And then it's like, I know. Why do you think I'm telling you? You're not coming to my house, knocking on the door, saying, your kid needs to be in school. I'm coming to you, so why should you yell at me? And I got sick of these people. They keep doing it. What I want to know is, what are his options? Can he take his homework home and do it at night? Can he, why won't the teachers respond to my emails? Now he's so far gone, and he can't. I mean, it'd be one thing if your kid had mono or something and brought all the homework home, stacks of homework they take in 3 months. It happens. Someone else just told me their kid had a mono. But with my kid, it's like, oh, he's a slacker, whatever. No one person asks, how's your kid doing? What's wrong? Oh, I'm sad that he's gone. Finally, the band teacher, after 5 to 7 months of not being in band, I finally emailed him and told him some stuff, and he's like, oh, I feel sad that he's not at school. I was wondering, 7 months ago, I wonder why they didn't say, excuse me, are you guys even in band? You just paid $700 and you're paying $41 a month for a saxophone that he's not even using. I mean, I have to think smart. I'm not made of money. Part of me is keep the saxophone. Part of me is he's going to inpatient and he'll never need the saxophone. Or maybe he could take the saxophone. He watched some House and he watched, Jack Nicholson, whatever. I get them mixed up. The golfer and the actor. He watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which I never read the book or watched it, so I can't tell you. As you can tell right now, the sun is coming right in to my face. It's almost kind of spooky. But, no. I am angry. I'm not doing my work. The lady who I've asked for counseling for my kid for 6 years, and she's blown us off, is now oh, we're going to come to your house tomorrow. I'm seriously, no. Okay, I've been eating the wrong foods, I have a headache, I'm angry, and I'm going to be gone. I have class. And then they're rearranging our schedule. They're already going to rearrange our schedule. I don't even know what's going on this week. Some people have a test tomorrow and Saturday. My teacher just died, and I was on his shift. So in naturopathic school, let's just change the subject. In my naturopath school, I don't know about your naturopath school, but my school, basically, this is the minimum. And I am nowhere near, I'm at one extreme to the other. I'm always on the extreme, far, big end. The little, easy, simple people that actually do things on schedule, they could take 4 years of undergrad. You have to get an undergrad degree, bachelor's degree. Basically, you have to have so many years of science classes. I mean, you could cluster them all up at once. If you want to take physics, biology, chemistry. You can't take chemistry and OChem together, I don't think. I think you need biology to get... Biology can be taken on its own. Again, chemistry, physics, OChem, psychology, and then, I don't know. I didn't retake the basic math. And I did retake writing for some weird... I don't know why I took that over. But if you take writing in college, I feel like you're going to have a different teacher. You're going to have... this person was you can start a sentence with but, and you can start a sentence with and you don't have to be conventional, which I was always, I don't know if that word conventional, I always pay attention to grammatical rules when I was younger. My mom was a teacher, she made me. Plus, I was always typing stuff in the 80s, I had typewriters and stuff. But, in computers, I'm sure I was probably the only one, that you guys that are old enough, or you found a pile of it in somebody's closet. You guys know the paper, the dot matrix or whatever paper that you tore the ends off. The paper edges with the little holes. I was probably turning that stuff in for years before before anyone even had a computer. I'm not trying to say anything, but I tried to do everything so perfect. And then after my mom died, me and my ex-husband were homeless, and then we lived out in the country, and I was writing magazines, and I had decided I don't want to follow grammatical rules. And I was sending stuff to Better Homes and Gardens and Traditional and Family Mags, yeah, right. Rejection letter after letter after letter. But I was I don't have to pay attention to the rules. And then I heard of bell hooks later on in her lowercase name, which I actually started doing my I's in lowercase. Because I did it because I felt so little. She does it for different reasons, but I felt like so small and so unimportant that I felt like I didn't need to be, in that situation. So right now, you start the medical school, you do a whole bunch of intense science classes the first year. There's people coming from all over the world, so you're breathing, say, hours a day in class in the same spot with the fans blowing on you, which I don't like, and you're breathing each other's air. I mean, it helps your immune system. You gotta have a strong immune system if you're gonna be a doctor, right? And I had told somebody that I was mad at the other day that medical school was easy. So if that person watches this, I'm allowed to be mad. Jesus was mad. He just didn't, destroy people. He just destroyed objects sometimes. Or at least one time in the Bible. But anyways, you take a bunch of science classes first year, then you start getting into labs. You start learning how to, you get friends with people and you start sharing. You practice charting, basically. All the medical people do charting, but ours is really in-depth. Okay, where's a typical breakfast? What's a typical lunch? What's a typical dinner? How many bowel movements? Do you have any burning on your... And people are like, what? That's none of your business. We're like, no, we ask everyone these questions. And people get all I don't know what color that is. Why are you going to ask me something like that? And they're like, excuse me, what? But no, we ask a lot of questions about different things. How was it when your grandma was pregnant with your mom? How was it when your mom was pregnant? We could go as many questions. And sometimes people will grade you down because you ask too many questions or for too many labs, but you're like, but Dr. A just told me that I need to ask for every lab, and then Dr. B is grading me and telling me you asked for too many labs, and then Dr. A goes back and evaluates your charts or your grades to see if you are doing a good job. They see a bad score, but you're like, part of the reason I got a bad score is not bad, but it's not the highest scores because I did what you told me to do, but Dr. B told me not. At this point, for me, I just don't. You're just like, what's the point in talking to yourself in a circle? That's what I'm good at doing. So, right now, I'm thinking, second year. It depends what program. I think you start by taking basic science, and you sit there all day, and if you're like me, you're stupid and forgot to study the notes. You study everything, every book on the planet, except for the notes. Watch every YouTube video, but you don't read the notes or listen to the recordings. So then I learned to read the notes. Actually, I learned to rewrite the notes. That doesn't always work. I think rereading them would be better, and my thing is picking out main things, but I think right now, so it's hard to remember what the first year of med school. So second year, you start with other classes like palpation. I never knew what that meant, but it's basically you're feeling for the person's body parts, but you're pretty much start with strangers, and you're asking and telling each other all this personal information about, your bowel habits and all this, and then you're learning. And you're doing this out in the hall. It's not really confidential. You could lie, I guess, but it's easier just to tell the truth. So then you just start talking to people, and then you start... it's scary for me. Some people are really affectionate and hug each other and have relatives and kids and friends and pets and stuff. And that, my kids don't like to really be touched. My daughter used to, but it's it's hard for me. And then as farther you get in school, the more you're even me as a Christian, it's alright, you guys need to put a gown on. And of course we go behind the screen. Some people don't. They're just woo! Just take a... You're whatever, this is medical school, if we haven't seen it once, I always just say this. I got it from someone else. If you haven't seen it once, then you're not even going to know what it is. So, but it's mostly women in the school. I've been eating the wrong food, so my throat's closing up. So basically, the third year-ish, you get more into palpation. I did massage first year, but that was an elective. And you just, I was terrified of this stuff. And then it's about, for me, third year, fall, I signed up to do hydrotherapy. I could have did it in the summer, I didn't know. And basically, you're doing hydrotherapy where you're in the clinic for the first... You practice it the end of second year. I think for some people, it was the end of their first year where they practice on each other, giving hydrotherapy treatments. We didn't do them all. And then I'm thinking I should go get the IR, the infrared sauna at school. I am like, someone has to say my fears, but I didn't say I'm kind of afraid of infrared. But I have the urge to just stop the madness of my diet change that I've done this week because of anger and just go on a full-on detox program, which I've done multiple times. I hate food relapses because it's like a drug. It's like I eat this certain food that I didn't want to eat, and then I eat it non-stop, and my stomach is bloated. My head is bleh, my face is all like double chin. Like, this is only like less than a week's worth of damage done, and I feel like I'm killing myself, which I don't like to say that kind of word. I feel like I'm slowing myself down, being tired, not thinking clearly. So, third year, I'm on an extended program. So let's just say my fourth year, I started in the clinic as a secondary. And you're basically, there's a primary that's like less than a year away from graduating, a year or less away, I guess, 3 terms away. You're with that person, and then you have a resident doctor who's a licensed doctor who just graduated. They could have graduated last spring term, or the year before, or the year before that. Some people are a third year. They've done it for 3 years, so they probably, they've done their residency for 3 years. 1, 2, or 3 years. There's not many 3 years, but some people you're like, are they a resident or are they a doctor? I mean, they're all doctors, but you're like, I don't know who's the boss, which sometimes would be helpful. And sometimes you have 2 residents on vacation days or some day that somebody is sick, and you're like, this person said, this Dr. C and Dr. D say 2 opposite things. So Dr. A says this to do this with your patient, but or whatever, I don't even know. Yeah, Dr. A just randomly comes in, and you really don't know what's going on. So, yeah, this sun is nice. I really like this sun. But anyways, it's bright. You're in the clinic, and you're learning, in the first year for me, which was good, you learn how to do electronic records. And then the third, and so in my naturopathic medical school, you're taking the classes, studying, and doing labs, electives, weekend classes, and you're doing clinic shifts at the same time, where you're actually caring for the patients and administering health. And then in labs now, we've done 2 years worth of blood draws and injections. You don't do many injections. You do blood draws often for 2 years, and the class is only every other week, so I guess it ends up being like a year. And then you can practice. I forgot you could practice. I should probably go in there and practice. And you can do, well, you can't say you can do. You have to graduate. Right now we're doing IVs. This is in class, so there's going to be a time eventually that I can do IVs in clinic. I want to know if any of you people out there who do IV therapy, or we call it therapy, but whatever type of medicine you're in, I want to tell the truth. So, well, the doctor told me today, the teacher, I stayed after because we have like a plastic arm. He's got real veins because I figured out, like you see my arm right here. If you do it wrong on the plastic guy's arm, they won't let you put what is it? It starts with a C. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name. The C thing where the IV goes in, the catheter. That part doesn't go into the guy's arm if you don't do it right. So the plastic dummy has real veins. So, yeah. Basically, I thought she told us to hold the thing like this. The needle like this. Put it in their arm like at this angle. Flick the catheter off. Flick, flick, flick. But what my problem is, I start flicking. My finger is like at full extension. And this finger is trying to hold the needle completely still. Because if you push the needle back in, A, you messed up. B, you could cause the catheter to break, which is like 99% chance it doesn't break, but if it does, you have to send your patient to the emergency room. But today the doctor, you can't even see my hands, I don't know why I'm doing this, it's like bright sun. The doctors told me today to put the needle in like this at a 45 or whatever degree angle, and then just turn my hand after you see the flash of blood and then push it off. And a lot of people were using their opposite hand. I messed up most of mine because the needle came out or something. Let's just say the first time I did it. I'll tell you two things. The first time I did it, there was a mess. There was warm blood in my vicinity, which I could feel, and the person was wearing a white sweater. So, jeepers. We should carry extra sweaters in the car just in case I have to, like, give a sweater to somebody so they can, you know, you have to have dress code in clinic. You can't walk around all yucky. Anyways, you can, because you can wear a white coat. But anyways, I just want to say that it's okay. That was the first time in my whole life. And I started getting okay, and now this week, I was, like, shaking. And when I was shaking, I did better. So, and both the teacher and the TA said they shake. So I felt like, okay, this is okay. And I'm like, tell the teacher, in my mind, I'm like, I hate this. I'm never going to get an IV in my arm, you know, because I have an arm model. But I'm like, I'm thinking, oh, what shifts are you on? Because I think I should probably practice this some more in real life. And I'm thinking, sometimes I say something, I'm like, shh, why am I saying that? I'm like, yeah, I think I probably will do this when I'm in practice. It's very important to be able, I mean, people can help people that have cancer by using different types of IV therapy. I'm talking the naturopathic care. I am not even, right now I'm learning what we're learning, and it's new to me, so I'm not going to even try to tell you what going on, but it's like some things you don't have to do anything. Once you're a doctor, you do all this to graduate, but you don't have to do any of this stuff when you're a doctor. You don't even have to be a doctor when you graduate. Someone graduated and now they're a farmer. I'm not saying that will happen, but it could. But so yeah, it's nice. I put my sunglasses on because it's so bright. But yeah, I'm babbling on. But basically, I thought there was one shift you could do. Maybe it was a secondary on the IV therapy shift. There's a lot of them I'm learning. And then I think after I finish this class, I think for spring, summer, I'm kind of nervous. I think I'm going to sign up to do it. I'm like, dude. See, I'm just thinking it. I'm nervous. It's not like I have it on paper. And ultimately, it's up to them, the registrar. They decide. You write down your choices. They decide what you're going to be put in. And there is an opportunity to go to them and say, you know, this isn't really going to work out. I mean, there's a deadline. They say no more changes. But sometimes there's shifts that need more people. They may give you opportunity. You can drop certain things, too, sometimes, but not add them. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. It's a blink of an eye. I have a year and 10 weeks and 9 weeks left. Oh my gosh. Like, even thinking that makes me nervous. I know I'm not ready right now, so I'm gonna enjoy every part of that. So I did 2 terms. They always change things in a clinic, but basically you spend the last 2 years of it. The normal program is 4 years. 5 years is just like whatever. Certain people have it extended. I mean, it's a program, but they like to label me as a 3rd year, though I'm 4th year. I'm like, that's not a 3rd year class. I'm 4 out of 5, and they're like, this is a 3rd year class. Like, they don't. So we'll just say for the last couple of years. So for me, year 4 and 5, you spend in the clinic, and they keep changing what they label you as. But basically, there's usually one person that's more experienced, and then a newcomer. And so next summer, I'll be the experienced person. And in physical medicine, I've been mediocre experience. I should be higher up, but there's also some people that are like, have businesses with physical medicine that they have degrees in the past or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But right now I gotta cut my nails before my physical medicine shift tomorrow. Okay, so yeah, we do have a lot of requirements, and now they're changing requirements. They want us to have a fixed shift for the whole next year. Seriously? Oh my gosh. I'm going to have 2 kids at 2 schools? How in the world? I'm just scared. I mean, there could be a situation like, oh, well, I'm leaving 5:30. Okay, pick this child up. This reminded me, I got HIPAA training online I have to do before week 4, which is next week. Oh my gosh. I should probably push stop and get working on that thing. I'm getting kind of paranoid. Anyways, I just wanted to change my anger into a real message. So my real message right now, oh, the sun's setting behind the neighbor's house, I'm so sad. But the real message right now is that we're doing classes. And like I said, I told someone that it was easy. What I said was easy. Medical school, if you sit and study 24/7, it's tolerable. But having to deal with kids who don't behave, having to deal with like your inspections at home, or stacks of paperwork, or people sending you letters saying, didn't you fill out the forms that we sent you 2 weeks ago and you never got the forms, and they're saying, well, you're going to be penalized because you didn't get the... Like, seriously, that's the stuff that's hard. And parenting is hard, and when your kid's when your kids are sick, it's hard. And when you forget to call the daycare and they yell at you and call you 3 times while you're, like, in an interview or something with the dean or something, that's hard. And then you, like, as soon as you hear your phone vibrate, you're like, oh, I forgot to call the daycare. And then you're like, oh, I'm trying to be so professional and nobody else here has kids. And all of a sudden I'm like, hey, can you excuse me while I call the daycare? Like, that's hard. And, or you wake up and both your kids are crazy, or one kept you up until 5 and the other one wakes up at 5 and you're up for like 24 hours and you decide, oh, I'll just take a shower. But then the big one takes a shower and then you're like, dude, I have to leave in 3 minutes. Do I take a shower, just throw on some clothes and deodorant? And then you're like, that's hard. And you're like, if I had 1.5 or 2 showers, would this happen? I mean, when it gets to the point where someone's taking a shower and you have to leave, you kind of have to, like, flip for it. And when you have children when they're younger who don't want to take a shower, it's like, hippie, I'm not saying anything bad, I'm calling us hippies. Like, oh, we don't need a shower every day. Like, when you have kids like that, or you have kids who... You have a mom who's single, who's moving from place to place, commuting 2.5 hours across town, and every day you get home, your kids are already asleep, and you're pushing them in a buggy to the house and carrying out 2 flights of stairs. They're not going to take a shower before bed like normal little kids. So there's some things, there's things that are hard with being a single parent and commuting and taking kids from daycare and eating dinner in the parking lot of a grocery store that you stopped at because you're waiting for traffic to die down, you're hungry, and it's like, get home at 8:30 and be in traffic for longer, or still get home at 8:30, but stop and go in the store and get something to eat first before kids fall asleep. It usually was the latter. Occasionally I'd have a couple of days off school when the kids were at school where I could pack up a basket of treats and drinks and stuff, but that was very seldom. I'm hoping I didn't leave the hot water on downstairs now that I'm thinking about this. But, yeah, I had my homeopathic case repertorized today during school, and I am really scared. I told my whole life story, which I'm not even putting on YouTube. I didn't tell my whole life story. But I had a friend, she said she would never do, at the school there's like 8 people in the classroom, and my friend's like, oh, I would never do it in front of all these people. But she goes, dude, like, you're always freaking out. She goes, I took my remedy, and like a few days later, like, I went to the same doctor, and it's like, oh my gosh, I just feel like a new person. I feel like I've always been like, this is a miracle. It's like, you gotta go there. And she had gone it. The guy lives out in the country. He has a home office. And I'm like, yeah, I should do over spring break. And then spring break came and went. I was trying to deal with my son, and that fizzled, and didn't have much of a break. And I think we had Easter. We had Easter before, but anyways. When I know that if I tell normal people that medical school, and I'm not saying you guys are normal people, but some people that don't, there's some people that don't want to hear that your life is difficult. Either it stresses them out, or they don't care, or they're just like, God bless me with all this goodness, I don't really care, like, there must be something wrong with you because you're not as blessed. But it's like, when I tell a normal person that medical school is easy, I'm being sarcastic. Are you kidding me? The thing with me, though, and I've struggled. You've seen me on here crying my eyes out for some stupid class. It's not even a medical school class. I'm still working with that issue. But I changed my major to fisheries and wildlife. I did worse than I did in pre-med. Okay? I changed my major to agriculture, natural resource communications. I did worse. I mean, I don't think I did as bad as I did in fishery and wildlife, but I still should. I mean, by that point, it was too late to go for a science degree, and I didn't want to be in school anymore. But yeah, I want to tell you guys that it's not just like, oh, it's easy as in, oh, I'm just going to sit here and draw stick figures. Some people can't draw stick figures. Some people are such good artists, they can't even make themselves draw stick figures. Everything has to be proportional. It would be painful. And there's nothing wrong with stick figures. But when I say it's easy, what I'm saying is I felt like that's directly what God wanted me to do. And, you know, He opens some doors and shuts other doors, and the doors that open I had to go through. And some doors that were closed, I clawed my way through, made a mess of my life, and had to come back to the correct open door. Like, steal that one. That's like a Pandora's box. Steal that garbage back up, which hopefully some of the detox and stuff I'm doing now. Like, who knows? Sometimes you eat the foods that aren't on the food plan. I'm trying to make myself feel better. Maybe it was giving me more energy. Maybe it was helping calm my stress, which isn't a good reason to overeat. Maybe I was nutritionally imbalanced. You know, everyone's like, you need B vitamins, you need this, adrenal support. And like, I don't know. I'm telling you, my friends told me that when I first got to school, because they're like, it's so hard on the body. And when my dad ate raw food diet and juicing, he was able to rest. He was able to get fresh air. He was able to walk around the house barefoot. He was able to drink a lot of well water and go to the store when he wants, sleep when he wants. So, and I'm not saying that I have a hard time eating all raw, but if I get sick or mentally stressed, then maybe it's not as easy as I like. But I prefer it. I feel a lot better. Like, right now, if you look at me in my video, I feel like crazy. So, what I'm dealing with now is that I send an email after the school counselor and everyone decides they want to come over to my house to talk to my kid. And then another agency gave me a crisis line from my county. And all I know is tomorrow I have a 3-hour class. I have no idea. They had changed the times of the classes. I have no idea what's going on, to tell you the truth. So I have these classes, okay? Or I have one class tomorrow. I'm just going to show up. And I'm not even... I have this huge medical bag right here. Like, this is my big one. It's like a suitcase. My friend gave me a little one, and I was carrying that. But then I was carrying, like, 6 other bags. So today I'm carrying this huge thing with, like, 6 other bags. I'm like... I think tomorrow I'm getting ready to purse. I'm going to bring the small medical bag and, like, one portable internet device. I don't even need that, though. But it's good to catch up. I mean, they send time emails and stuff, and... So, right now, you understand, I'm trying to figure out about class. I have to talk to this principal that yelled at me the other day, or this counselor, in front of a lot of people, and I also missed the phone call for my kid's insurance and stuff, because it's through the state, and they don't tell you, oh, we're going to call you this day at this time. They give you a choice, but I was totally, like, driving or something. I missed the phone call. And if you call them, you're on hold for like an hour. So, which I did yesterday, but they were already closed, so I had to leave a message. See, I'm slipping. And then I have, because, my doctor that just died, that's what I was getting at. I had done a 12-week straight shift with him for minor surgery. I had him for 2 different 12-week long classes. One of them might have ended after 10 weeks. But, you know, like, the term is literally 12 weeks long. So we had this guy. There's a few flowers outside of his classroom, because he died 2 weeks ago. And he's having a memorial tomorrow, and they're already sending emails about parking's going to be really crowded. And they're like, tissues, we need lots of tissues. And I totally forgot. I don't even know if I had any pictures. I think the least I can do right now is give a card. And then shift until late, and then I have to pick, I would hope both kids up from daycare, but today I didn't even pick anyone up, so at least one, if not both of the children up. And this is what this is a lot longer than I want it to be. I just want to say one thing. I feel like my life is falling apart. I've been from the homeless shelter to living in a tent to living in a Jeep, and some of this with kids, some of it without kids. I've gone from housing program to housing program to city welfare housing because I couldn't rent a place. I could rent a place in a side of town where there's gang activity, but I don't want to live in gang activity. So because of the color of my skin, I cannot get the house where I want. I actually had some offers for houses, but I don't know. I don't know if you guys ever say, well, I like this house except for these things are really annoying and it might be depressing. It was a small house and most of the house was in a basement. Even at the yard, and their neighbors weren't much different than my neighbors. They were always like, they had lots of clutter in the yard and they always had this huge dog running around messing with you. Like, that makes me just as nervous as living in these crowded places that I live in. Except these crowded places, once in a while, people will come around with clipboards and cameras, and then people behave, as they're, like, filming you. I just want to say right now that I feel like I've been bouncing back and forth and back and forth. I feel like I'm the type of mom who I wish I could say my house was spotless, but the time I do still watch some TV and movies, but I'm spending a lot of time studying and reading, and I've got this stack of stuff that I just brought upstairs. One of them is for one of my case papers. I got a bunch of files from the clinic. I need to do case papers, 6 of them before I graduate. We have to do community education, 24 hours of that on our own time. 270 hours on our own time of observation. I have 0. So I have a year to get 270 hours. So it's a lot right now. And then with all this, when you're at school, you need to be at school. And there are ways that you can leave class and miss everything or record it. But as you get farther on, you don't want to miss it because you don't have time later on to record it. Or you could miss a class and go do a dentist appointment or something, but you're going to have to make it up. And unless you know you can make it up, you're probably, even if you can make it up, you're going to be coming out at night, or you're going to be having a 15-hour day. And a lot of times in my situation, I can't make it up. I could potentially ask someone to take my kids home, but you never know. It's better to know you have your class for the week than to hope that person doesn't forget to pick your kids from daycare. Because then you have to leave, and then you'll get an F in the class because you weren't there. So there's a lot of requirements. There's random times. Sometimes teachers give you quizzes and in-class assignments that count as your attendance. So even if you were to run out to take a phone call, like say with my son for counseling or something, you would miss that stuff. So right now I'm at a point where there's a lot of people I've known for 8 to 10 years, and I'm calling them now, and they're just pretty much like, I cannot help you. I don't even know how to help you. My life is great. My life is fine. Goodbye. And I'm not necessarily asking for them to take over my parenting duties, or, sometimes does anyone out there, like, have their friend call and be like, let's go out to dinner and let's have tea or something. I don't drink coffee. Like, let's hang out and be friends and just talk about our lives for an hour and then go back to reality and let each other know that we care for each other. In my circle of people I know, acquaintances or people at church or anything, it's not, and there's never any of those. And the people that invite us, like my one friend, we went to her house a lot of times for holidays, but 3/4 of the time she has canceled. And another friend, I was going to her house 3/4 of the time, she has just she's like, oh, you want to come over for church or for dinner after church? Like, yeah, we do. And then me and my kids would go to church, not see her, call her, and be like, where is she? Like, where were you today? Oh, I was out of town. And it's like, okay, kids, don't worry, I already have a plan B because I'm so used to people being so unreliable. And in your mind, we know not to think negative things are happening, but with kids involved, I always want to have a plan B. A plan B is like, get some money out of the bank and take them to go get a milkshake or something. Because they were expecting to go to their friend's house. And now my daughter's like, I have to go home and do homework, Mom. I don't have time to go to someone's house and listen to you talk for 2 hours. Or to, play with their dog, or watch their dog get a haircut, or whatever silly things. Or them say, oh, I know this person likes salad, I better go grocery shopping. Like, my daughter wants to get her work done. So I just want to say right now that I feel like, the cartoons where the mom has got, like, curlers and two locks of hair, and she's got, like, a scarf on her head, and big fuzzy slippers, like, gum stuck in them, and she's standing there in a bathrobe, and her legs are hairy, and she's got babies tugging out her robe, and the dog is dumped over his dish because he's hungry. And with me, it's the guinea pig. Yes, he's dumped over his dish again, and that reminds me he needs to be fed too. I'm sure I always feed him, but I'm sure he could use more for dinner right now. And it's like the grass. I mean, for me, it's not like in the cartoon. It's always the husband always comes home and says, "Hi, honey, I'm home," or something, and she's cooking meatballs or something. At least she has food to eat. For me, there is no "Hi, honey, I'm home." It's just me. It's like, and imagine, it's like, put me in that cartoon and I'm not really wearing a robe. I'm all frazzled, but I'm wearing, like, clothes that I can wear in a medical clinic, and I'm like, I'm trying to pretend that I'm doing a good job. No. I get myself mentally prepared, but when I come home, it's so tiring, and then you got a stack of bills, and sometimes I just throw them somewhere. That's pretty bad. I should probably, I think I need to do more about getting, like, the envelope holder next to the door that says bills on it. I actually have a thing like that, but it always gets lost. It's like a Fly Lady one, not that. It's no good to get lost. I should look in and see how many I forgot to pay. But, yeah, I just wanted to say that I feel like that crazy cartoon caricature who's just running raggedy, but at the same time, because I'm not giving up, and I'm going to say this from a Christian or leadership point of view. The pastor would always say, people would say, how do you measure success? Is it how many people you have? Is that you own a building? Is it this? Is it that? He said, well, someone I know says, it's not about any of that. It's about how long do you survive as a pastor. Because it's like, a lot of people don't make it that long. So if you're 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old and you're still preaching, it's like you still got it. I mean, that's your success. It's not necessarily, there could be one person in the crowd. It could be your spouse or your dog or something, but you're still up there preaching. Usually the church is not like that, but in my other support group type things, we would show up with only 3 people. Sometimes we'd leave early, but we still opened the doors and we still took attendance and we still did what we're supposed to do, which meant that everyone who went there, got support of each other, and that just meant you got more one-on-one attention, which is kind of nice sometimes, like a holiday or people are sick or something. But, so for me, I want to tell you, oh my gosh, I'm frazzled. I'm crazy. I'm eating the wrong foods. I gained 10 pounds in a week. And I'm telling you, I have stacks of stuff. This stuff isn't even stuff that's due. There's probably a lot of stuff due. There's stuff that's due. Let's just say it's maybe not due tomorrow, but it's due. I just want to say, there's a lot of people in this school that don't make it. Whether they quit. There's some people that make it almost to the end and they don't make it. They could get kicked out. People could get arrested for something stupid. It's easy for people to get arrested. If somebody's holding someone's purse and they get pulled over and it happens to have drugs or something they didn't even know was in there, that will ruin your life. And that happens all the time. And it's your friend, you're like, do you want to others? I'm not going to tell them that it's not mine and I'm in possession of it. Or, my friend used to try that with us. She'd be stealing a bunch of stuff in the store and she'd put it all in big paper bags, and she'd be like, can you take this to my trunk? She's like, oh, it's just a little Christmas shopping. Christmas shopping? You didn't pay for this stuff? No way. No way. I mean, all we had to do is them have a surveillance camera, her call the cops, and with us walking out with this merchandise. I'm like, that friend was bad. And she was also someone that looked goody. I just want to say that I may be razzled. I may get cramps in my feet. I may throw my bills, which usually I'm not bad at paying the bills, but I just want to say that I'm keeping on Whether I have the heavy bag or the light bag, whether I have the black big purse or the small glitter purse, I'm still getting up, I'm still setting my alarm or multiple alarms, going to school. I've been blessed with having a car that runs and having gas. I haven't checked the gas tank. One way or another, whoever I'm mad at, I'm still going to my group, except for the weight loss one. I'm still going to my church. I'm still counting myself as a member. I'm still calling my dad and my other relatives regularly, maybe a little bit too regularly, but I'm doing what I need to do, and I especially am praying. I may not be taking time to take deep breaths. I may not be exercising regularly or eating my salad and drinking all my water every day, but I'm just trying to tell you right now, there's a lot of stuff. Not just for me, but for everyone. And even if you sit at home and do nothing, you're going to still have a lot of stuff. Even if you sit under a bridge because you lost your apartment, you're still going to have a lot of stuff to deal with. Even if it's like snakes and worms, who knows, weird stuff outside. So I'm trying to just say, hang in there, anyone else who's trying to decide what to do. And I want to say one thing, kind of singling, it doesn't have to single a group of people out. But I posted on Facebook after somebody had told me that they didn't know what it was like. There's a lot of people that tell me they don't know what it's like to be a single parent. They couldn't even imagine it. Like my friend's in a wheelchair, I can imagine it. Every time I see someone in a wheelchair who can't get through a door and they clank on the sides and get jolted back, I think about, that sucks. I've not experienced it, but there's no one telling me that I can't go write a comment card and say you need to update your building, or you need to clearly put signs. Either this person, they could be 100 years old wheeling themselves uphill to this door and now they can't get in. And then the handicap door, to park there, if you have my friend had a handicap van that was down low, her van would not go into the handicap parking lot with the handicap door, which had the elevator. So it's like she had to park in a different building and then wheel herself all the way down the street because the curb was high. There was, you know how at the corners there's supposed to be like divots so people in wheelchairs can get across the street? Well, she would have to park in another building parking lot. She still does this. And then she has to go around, go down the street, down a block, go across the street, and then back up a block just to get into the one door that you can get into our school. What if there's a fire? How is she going to get out? I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't even lift myself on a chin bar. I guess a couple of us could lift her, but who knows if she's upstairs by herself studying or something. Anyways, I think about it a little too much. And then I don't do my work. And then you see me crying because I forgot to pay the bill. Or forgot to get the call about my kids' insurance. But I just wanted to say that I did say this. I looked up to post something on Facebook about a single mom. A lot of them had little babies and stuff. Or, they didn't have teens that were acting crazy like mine, which affects their... everyone blames me. Your kids are like that and your house is messy because you chose to go to medical school. It's like, I didn't choose to marry some guy that was going to be an abusive jerk. I chose, but I didn't choose that life. So right now, I just want to say, because this is so long, I read some articles online while I was searching for an article to share. Someone already wrote about single parenting and about medical school. And there was a lot of people that saying, I'm getting ready to go to med school. Do you have any advice? Any other single parents out there? And a lot of people were writing, don't even think about doing it. I'm not trying to rain on your party or whatever, but it's too much work. It's like, I think first of all, if you're a single parent, you're going to have to do something. Why not do something you want to do? If you don't do med school, you're going to work 2-3 jobs to pay your rent. Unless you can live in someone's basement for free. And you want your kid to have daylight. My friend lived in the basement, she said never again. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about some of you that live in the basement, but sometimes, for me, when I'm a single parent, I don't get out much, so that little bit of sun coming in every day is all that kids might get for the whole summer, because they don't play outside. But anyways, there's a lot of people like, you cannot do it. Don't do it. Maybe you could be a nurse. No, don't even try it. It's too much work. It's just, none of these, I sometimes tell people, unless you really know that this is your, calling, I don't recommend being where I am. But how worse would it be if I'm back at the minimum wage job I was at, where I couldn't even pay the rent? You know, would I even have my kids right now? If you lose your job and have no money, don't you lose your children when you become homeless? Or if they catch you? It's like, so what would be better? And if you've already got a bachelor's and you're already studying science, and you can extend your medical school program or go to naturopathic school, or you could, and just hire a nanny, or you're going to have daycare. Whether you work or not, you're going to have, or whether you work or go to school, you're going to have a babysitter, or you're going to have your kid in school. So why not work? Why not go to med school while your kid's in daycare? You're going to have to do something anyway. And then the thing about school is you get breaks, you get time off, you get holidays, sometimes weekend. And the only thing I can tell you about conventional medical school is we had a woman come into our class at Portland State University, and she was a single parent. She goes, you need to get people that you trust now with your kid. She goes, with her, she was on call to the hospital, to the ER, the operating room, or whatever. And she says that there would be times, she had a friend that was such a good friend. She's like, that lady was already in place when I got my beeper going off, and I had to just leave and drive to the hospital. So that lady would come to the house, finish sleeping at the house, get the baby up and ready into daycare or school or wherever the baby had to go. Get her dressed, drive her safely, and she could count on this friend. Because even this lady didn't know. Even with my school, it's a mess, but I can at least call people and be like, oh, this is my schedule next term, it's impossible. At least I can call in advance. And sometimes stuff comes up in our schedules. But I just wanted to share that with you. I think we all need to be careful giving advice. I mean, I'm telling you, maybe you could go to medical school, but I'm trying to say, just because you're a single parent doesn't mean you can't go to med school. It's like, you gotta do something anyway. And a lot of people that tell me that it's stupid, they were all stay-at-home moms. It's like, well, you were married and your husband went to work and you stayed home and you were at home making cookies when your kids got off the bus. That's not in my situation. I'm either going to be at school or I'm going to be at work. One way or another. So, I mean, you need to choose. I mean, if you're joyful at the clinic or at the school or as a nurse or a massage therapist or a dog walker or a garbage man or woman, then you need to do what you want to do. And for me, my only recommendation is to pray about it. I pray to God, journal about it, write down the pros and cons. If you put it in like a higher power's hands and say, will you please open the door that needs to be open and shut the door that needs to be shut, it's not saying you're going to breeze right through. It's not even saying that any of these jerks are going to help you when you think that they should, even if they say they're going to. I have so many people say they're going to help me, and then they don't even call to cancel. They just don't show up. And you're like, you're kidding me? Like, someone was going to babysit my animals, and they're like, don't do it. I'm getting on a plane in 2 hours. And I'm calling everyone I know and trying to tell them where I'm going to leave the key. I'm like, some people can be such jerks. But I think anyone, men, women, kids, older people, people with or without kids, even people with dogs, my school, they all got bigger houses and yards than I do because their dogs needed somewhere to run. My friends, when they had dogs in first year, they had their dogs at daycare. Or they had nannies for their dogs, and they had play dates with their dogs. Their dogs had more attention than my kids. My kids still went to school and daycare, but I was like, what? Man, they have a lot of energy, But if anything, with handicaps, with race, with pets, you have to some people get jobs, they have to travel, whether they want to or not. They might learn later on what's really going to happen. But I was heartbroken, hoping that anyone who asked, should I go to med school, and I'm a single parent, I hope that none of those people decided not to. I want to tell you this. One last thing, after an hour of talking. My friend Jody, she had her own business. She has it on and off. And she does normal, labor jobs, cleaning, restaurant work, caregiving, childcare. She does those kind of jobs. She's had a lot of jobs since I've known her. And she's always kept the roof over the head and food in the stomachs. When I told people I was considered homeless, living in transitional housing, left my ex-husband, had other mental, emotional, social issues, major ones. I told all the people in the groups, in the community groups, the churches, in the housing programs, and the counts, everyone said, you are not going to medical school. Are you crazy? No. No one like you goes to medical school. Be a medical assistant. Go drive a forklift, or whatever you call it. You know? And this one friend, Jody, said, she looked at me in the eye one day, which people don't usually do. It's either because of me looking down or because they're scared of me because I'm black. Ooh. But this lady said, please tell me that you enrolled into school. And I was doing undergrad again, I think. She goes, please tell me you've enrolled into school. Right? You've enrolled, right? Okay, good. And, I mean, this happened between 5 and 7 years ago. And this person, she was single, wasn't paying rent, wasn't paying bills, struggling, working for herself, cleaning houses with just a rag and a plastic bag. And she was the one that would have me come to work, and she'd split her payment with me. She was the one who would take me to the Safeway and say, you and your kids need to eat. Here's some ground beef and some potatoes. You know what I mean? So she had enough empathy to say, you know, the people that were driving the fancy cars and SUVs, they're just like, you're garbage. How can you even think that you're going to be successful? But this person that had nothing and came from nothing was able to be generous and put her hand out with encouraging words. I'm not saying she's always doing that stuff. She has her own struggles, and she works all the time. She has a hard time returning my phone calls, and she can have her own ups and downs with her own children's issues as well, and her own ex-husband's issues. I know that she has. Sometimes I'd talk to her, I would be so depressed about her stories, it sounded like mine. I'm like, no wonder no one wants to talk to me. That if that's all I'm saying on the phone, that's horrible. Like, that's so depressing. But I want to say it publicly. I'm not going to say her whole name, but my friend Jody had been the one to look me in the eye and say, and she was one with her and my dad and probably my kids who was like, go for it. And all I had to trust was God. God, I'm going to go for it. There's no guarantee I'm going to get in here. I mean, I could try to swim across the river right now, and there's no guarantee I'm going to make it even 10 feet before I drowned. But in this situation, I said, let's go for it. And before I borrow too much money, I'll know whether or not I'll be able to do it, and I just keep going back. Every day I go into the door, open the door, and think, I'm not so afraid of those germs right now. Actually, I'm thinking there are germs, and I should probably just be careful. But anyways, that's all I want to say, YouTube. I really need to stop talking so much, but I wanted to share more about the parenting and the naturopathic school, and every day I post a video is another day closer to the end. If I failed out of school this term, I would be a term behind. But right now, there's still hope for me, despite what's going on in my family, and I'm just going to ask God to bless my friend, and to just thank her, just think about that, you guys. One sentence that someone said, 5 to 8 years ago, still keeps me motivated. And I'm not going to lie and tell you that the negative people, that those lies still go. But all in all, the good, just like it says in the Bible, the good always wins. And I'm not saying people aren't saying, well, that's really difficult. What about your kids? What about your sanity? I'm not saying people may not have been caring, but they were always the type that were married and had a husband to help with the kids and pay for the house and do the chores and cook a meal. They were always somebody that had someone. It was never a single woman, or it could, a man, for that matter, who had to raise it. And even a lot of the people that are married, they have a lot of grandparents and aunts and uncles and family friends, and it's like, wow, I could imagine if I had one of those people that you have, I would have a little bit of weight off my shoulders, unless that person was psycho or alcoholic or something. But I just have to keep it in perspective. And the good Lord, it took me a lot of traffic driving today. He got me home to my kids, whether they are obedient or not. And he was giving me the technologies to give you guys a super long video that's burning up the battery and memory on my phone. So, God bless.